There are 500,000 more sellers than buyers in the housing market right now. Is this the moment prices finally fall, or is it something else entirely? Builders are slashing prices, offering incentives, but sellers? They're holding firm. What does that mean if you're thinking about moving to Florida this year? You've worked hard to earn your next chapter, whether it's retirement, escaping the snow, or just living here on your own terms. But is now the right time to make your move, or should you wait? Today, we'll break down the real numbers behind the headlines, what I'm seeing right here in Lee and Collier counties, and why this window might be more important than you think, especially if you're relocating, buying a second home, or investing in your future lifestyle. Right now, there are 500,000 sellers more than buyers on the market. So that's a pretty unprecedented gap. On top of that, sellers are holding on to $700 billion in listings. But buyers, many of them are waiting on the sidelines. 2 weeks ago, mortgage applications decreased 5.1%. And then this past week, we see mortgage applications decrease another 1.2% from 1 week earlier. But interestingly enough, FHA shares of total of applications remain unchanged. So with FHA applications staying pretty steady, we're seeing that first-time homebuyers are actually still pushing forward despite the market. And then in this other article from Quartz, we see unsold completed new single-family homes hit 117,000 in April, which is the highest level we've seen since July of 2009. And then in addition to that, we also saw that even luxury home sales, which are usually pretty resilient in this kind of market, they fell 10% in April from a year earlier, making that the steepest decline since 2023. But here in Lee County, we're actually seeing something a little bit interesting. You can see in those first two lines, we have new listings at 960 and solds at 972. So that's the first time that sold listings have surpassed new listings in quite a while. On top of that, you can also see just below that, where the expired line, we had over 1,100 listings go expired in just the last 7 days. And then just below that, towards the bottom, we see price decreases over 2,000 just in the last 7 days. And despite that, we still see new listings are declining overall, and so is active inventory. It still continues to decline here in Southwest Florida. And despite all those headlines we're seeing, you're still seeing closed sales slowly increase. So what does that mean if you're thinking about relocating here? We'll get into that in a second. See, right now, sellers are pretty unwilling to lower their prices and buyers are reluctant to make big purchases as the economy flounders. There's a lot of uncertainty right now. Plus, on top of that, you also have the rising costs of mortgages, insurance, and property taxes in the housing market. So most sellers right now are reluctant to drop their prices, and they're just holding on. They're waiting for rates to fall so they can sell for more. And then when they make their trade-in, they can actually get lower rates again instead of paying a 6 or 7% interest rate, which is probably double most of what they have for rates right now. At the same time, we also see that builders are starting to adapt more. The gap between new and existing home sales just closed down to only $14,600 difference between the two. So new builds are usually more expensive, and they have been in the past. The average difference over the last 5 years was about $26,000. We've already closed that gap an additional $12,000, almost 50%. And the decade before that, from 2010 to 2019, we saw that there was a much wider gap at $66,000. So what is going on? Why is this happening? Why is the gap starting to close? Home builders have started to adapt to the affordability challenges. They've begun building on smaller lots, also constructing smaller homes on those lots, and then they're also offering incentives. In May, 34% of builders cut their prices. That's up from 29% in April, just a month earlier. More than half, actually 61% of builders are offering various types of incentives, including one of the more popular ones right now, which is mortgage rate buydowns. Very early after we came down from our all-time highs back in 2022, home builders were doing 3-2-1 buydowns, which the first couple of years they'd buy your rate down, and then after that it'd go back up a little bit each year until you hit the third year, which you would have a fixed rate of like 5%. Now they're actually buying down the rates for the entire duration of the loan for a 30-year fix. In some cases, they're buying it down to 4.99%. I don't think we're seeing a crash. What we're seeing is a silent reset, or in other words, a correction. Sellers are blinking in some places, and you also have builders adjusting, but the best homes, the best neighborhoods, the lifestyle communities, the waterfront homes, the golf course neighborhoods, those are still really competitive. We can take a look at this listing on Zillow right here. This is in Naples. Listed at $649,000. It's already pending. It's contingent on financing. Very low HOA, $43 a month, but still $351 a square foot. The Zestimate has it at $616. And take Zestimates with a grain of salt, because a lot of times they're off. But still, people looking at this, a buyer who's looking at this property sees the Zestimate at $616. They still obviously made some kind of an offer within the first couple days. So this has only been on the market 12 days and it went under contract just 2 days ago. So within 9 days, this went under contract. And based on that, how quickly it went under contract, I'm willing to bet it was pretty close to full asking price, if not more. These people obviously are sitting on quite a bit of equity. They bought this house back in 1992 when prices were definitely a lot lower, and they've built up a $650,000 house, which I guarantee, even the size of this house, they didn't pay more than $200,000, $300,000 to have it built. At the same time, we also see some of the builders like this one. This is a Neal community home right here in Fort Myers, $608,000, 4 beds, 3 baths, 2,300 square feet. Pretty good size house. It's in Fort Myers. But again, look at the price drop here. It was listed for sale at $688,000 back in February, and they just had a price change so they let it sit for 3 months. They brought it down 11.6%, $80,000 they dropped the price. So it really depends on where you're at, what kind of neighborhood it is, how high the demand is, and then also the pricing. And then you also have huge price drops in some neighborhoods and certain homes, like this one's listed at $1,095,000 right now. The price cut was $295,000 just a week ago or so. But this home's also been on the market 262 days. It was listed back in September for $1.5, almost $1.6 million. And now it's down to almost $1 million. That's the kind of market we're in right now. Certain areas, especially in the high prone flood zones, a lot of people are leery of buying on the coast right now due to hurricanes, due to insurance costs, and then you also have the rising taxes. If you're planning to move to Florida, whether it's for retirement, a second home, or to finally enjoy the lifestyle you've worked for, this is your window to watch closely. Inventory in lifestyle markets is still tight. The best homes, those with water access, great amenities, or in the best communities, aren't seeing big discounts. But in builder-heavy areas, we're seeing price cuts, incentives, and homes sitting longer. This is not the market where you wait for the headlines to tell you what to do. This is the market where you need to be informed and ready. The people who act now, while others hesitate, are gonna lock in the homes that fit their lifestyle goals. And if you're a first-time buyer watching this, know that some segments like FHA loans are still holding steady. There are still opportunities out there, even in a tough market. Here's what I think. We'll see more price cuts and builder incentives in the coming months, especially over the summer. But the best homes, the ones in the lifestyle markets, those will stay pretty competitive. If mortgage rates drop this fall, demand could surge and prices may stabilize or even climb again in some areas. If you've been waiting for the perfect time to make your move to Florida, this is the moment to get ready. Don't miss the window. The market is shifting quietly, but by the time everyone notices, it may be too late. And in most cases, mainstream media is usually 6 to 12 months behind the curve. Let's talk. I'll give you the honest answers, no fluff, just straight talk about what's happening and how to make it work for your goals. And drop a comment below. Are you feeling more ready to make a move, or are you still waiting to see how things shake out? Let me know. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you in the next one, but until then, stay safe, stay positive, and more importantly, stay free.